Okay, that was a little bit of Smashing Pumpkins, 1979, Billy Corgan. You know, Billy Corgan was recently on the Chris Isaak Hour, and he played this song on an acoustic guitar, so he, for the benefit of all of us, he showed us exactly the fingering that he uses when he plays this song. It's very clever the way he does it. What he's doing is, first of all, if you try to play along with the record, you'll first notice that all the guitars are tuned down a half step. So instead of this top string being an E, it's tuned as an E flat. And all the strings all the way down are tuned a half step lower. So even this A is an A flat. But, so I've done the same thing. If you want to play along with me, you'll have to tune down as well. But what I'm going to do is talk about it in terms of standard tuning, so we can understand better what he's doing. But basically what he's doing is playing these octaves. If you notice, when you do that, basically this is a D sharp, that is a D sharp 1 octave up. And what I'm doing with my first finger is I'm dampening this string. So now if you play the top 4 strings, what you're basically playing there is an E major 7th. The reason is if you move it up a half step, what you would have is 3 E notes right there. A low E, an E an octave up, and another E, yet another octave up. So that's basically the key he's in. He's in the key of E. But what he's doing is starting at the D sharp and moving up to the E. Okay? But basically by playing a D sharp along with this low E string, he's playing an E major 7th. Alright? So he's starting there. He goes up to the E and then slides down to the 2nd and the 4th fret. Well, what he's doing there is he's playing a B chord. Okay? Or that. The reason that makes sense is, if you think about it, in the key of E, okay, the 4 chord is an A, and the 5 chord is a B. So basically, in this opening riff, even though it looks very fancy and complicated what he's really doing is he's playing the 1 chord, the 5 chord, and the 4 chord. And the way you can hear it is if you take this E chord, okay, if that's an E chord, and you move this D, this E right there down to a D sharp, play the rest of that E chord with that D sharp, and that's just another way to play an E major 7th. Okay? So if you listen to it, that's all he's really doing. He's starting with the E major 7th, and he's adding this E on there. And then he's going to the B and the A. So you listen to it. See? So all he's doing is playing the 1, 5, and the 4 chord, which is basically the foundation for tens of thousands of songs. Okay? So it's actually pretty simple what he's doing, even though it looks complicated. So, if you start with this, you're down to the B chord. When he gets the A, instead of playing an A chord like that, what he's doing is he's playing the open A string, the 5th string, and he's playing a series of notes here on the 4th string, which is here. Alright, now if you play those notes along with the A string together, it sounds like this. See? It's relatively simple. And what you're doing is really pull down on this one here. Because the note he's actually sounding is a half step up, that. So it's as if you're making this sound. Okay? Except when you play with the A, it sounds like this. And when you're bending, it sounds like this. Notice another thing that I'm doing. I'm actually chopping these notes off. Okay? If you just hold them down, they kind of all run into each other. But if you chop them off, notice how I'm taking my finger off when I'm playing them, and I'm taking my fingers off at strategic times to sound more like the record. It's more like this. Okay? It's more choppy than you think. Okay, so the riff from the beginning is like this. Okay, for the rest of the verse, once you've played that riff 3 or 4 times through, depending on whether you're singing or whether you're just playing the riff, he eventually ends every section of the song with this chord. Now that's an F sharp minor, but he plays it up here because he's ending on that note there. F sharp minor played there, and then he plays the form of a B. So he's really just back to the 5 chord, the B. And if you think about it, the form of it, that's a B chord right there if you did a full bar chord. But what he's doing is